Have you ever gazed at a seemingly flawless family portrait, with its radiant smiles and tender embraces, and pondered what mysteries might lurk beneath that cheerful exterior? Life unfolds like an artist's palette, where brightness and darkness intertwine in an eternal dance. The narrative I'm about to unfold peels away the layers of one such concealed story, a chronicle of broken faith, deeply buried truths, and the challenging path toward healing. Before we delve into this compelling series of events, I'd love to hear which corner of our magnificent nation you're watching from. If this story resonates with you, don't forget to click that subscribe button to help us continue sharing these authentic, unvarnished tales. I'm Mason Carver, a 40-year-old entrepreneur who once thought he had life perfectly mapped out. Imagine a crisp October evening in Portland, Oregon, with overcast skies mirroring the growing disquiet in my heart. Through my home office window in Lake Oswego, a peaceful suburb a mere 20 minutes from downtown Portland, the soft illumination of street lamps filtered in. There, I would immerse myself in developing Carver Tech, my crowning achievement, a personal finance application I created from scratch. My success story wasn't inherited but earned through unwavering dedication, methodical thinking, and a dream I nurtured through countless sleepless nights. My contemporary, welcoming home, surrounded by towering pines, served as a haven for myself, my wife Abigail, and our children, Juniper and Theo. A decade of marriage felt like a steady ascent, founded on affection and deep understanding, or at least that's what I thought. Abigail, with her sweet smile and constant encouragement, seemed like the perfect companion. Her independent accounting work provided the flexibility needed to keep our household running seamlessly. Every month or so, we'd make the 50-mile journey south to my parents' expansive farm in Salem. These family gatherings were precious moments, brimming with joy and the familiar sounds of family meals, offering solace from life's pressures. My father, Wesley Carver, was a resilient, seasoned farmer whose determination molded my character. My mother, Marlene, was our family's emotional anchor. My siblings, Tucker, a rugged truck driver, and Sadie, who managed a small grocery store in Salem, completed our family circle. Recently, however, these gatherings had taken on a strange tone. I noticed furtive looks exchanged between family members, conversations that abruptly ceased upon my arrival, and an inexplicable tension hanging in the air. Logic governs my existence. I find solace in the precision of numbers, the certainty of algorithms, and the reliability of concrete evidence. Emotions take a secondary role to methodical reasoning in my world. Through focused determination and meticulous analysis, I transformed Carver Tech into a thriving enterprise. My family benefited from my pragmatic approach too, not through grand emotional displays, but through steadfast dependability and a meticulously planned future. I took satisfaction in the stable, seemingly unshakable life I'd constructed. However, subtle inconsistencies began emerging. Abigail's evenings away became more frequent, with a recurring explanation of assisting Mom with Dad's cardiac issues. Initially, I never questioned her dedication. Yet, her exhausted sighs and fleeting glances upon returning home stirred an unfamiliar disquiet within me. I dismissed these concerns as stress-induced paranoia. Nevertheless, and persistent unease had taken hold, gradually eroding my carefully maintained composure. Abigail Carver, my wife of 10 years, is someone I've entrusted with everything. Her gentle features, warm brown hair, and perpetual smile embodied the ideal of a devoted wife and mother. She supported my ambitions, nurtured our children's happiness, and never protested my extended work hours. Recently, though, she's grown emotionally distant, creating an invisible barrier I can't penetrate. Her late-night phone conversations and unexplained departures suggest concealed information. Wesley Carver, my father, remains my lifelong role model. His weathered hands and measured wisdom shaped my character fundamentally. Our relationship isn't emotionally demonstrative, but his occasional guidance resonates deeply. His heart condition has everyone concerned, providing Abigail's justification for her nighttime absences. Marlene Carver, my mother, functions as our family's cornerstone. Her nurturing spirit and hospitality skills maintain our family bonds. Her relationship with Abigail appears unusually intimate, sometimes surpassing her connection with me. Tucker Carver, my younger brother, embodies straightforwardness and ruggedness. Despite our contrasting lifestyles, him navigating highways, me navigating software, I've always appreciated his authentic nature. Sadie Monroe, my sister, radiates positivity wherever she goes. Her animated conversations with Abigail now carry an unusual intensity, suggesting shared secrets. They're my family, my foundation, yet lately, I sense they're withholding crucial information. A few nights after that unsettling feeling took root, it became impossible to disregard. Abigail deflected my attempts at conversation, using her weariness as an impenetrable barrier. One evening, as she slumbered beside me, her breathing rhythmic and deep, I succumbed to my doubts. With trembling hands, I retrieved her phone from the nightstand. The soft blue light illuminated her serene face as remorse consumed me. Using her thumb for access, a privilege of our mutual trust, I examined her messages. Then I discovered it, sent mere hours ago. I miss you, Abby. When can we escape and live for ourselves? Signed simply W. Ice coursed through my veins. My thoughts spiraled. W could be anyone, but one name surfaced unbearably. Wesley, my father. The notion was inconceivable, repulsive. I struggled to dismiss it, desperately seeking alternative explanations. Yet the evidence aligned. Those furtive glances, whispered conversations, Abigail's unusual closeness to my family. Uncertainty had evolved into a crushing weight. It burrowed deep, destroying the faith I cherished. That night, I lay sleepless, peering into darkness, hunting for clarity amidst the chaos of betrayal and fear consuming my soul. The weeks following my discovery of that enigmatic message on Abigail's phone dragged endlessly, each moment weighted with unvoiced terror. Distrust constricted my chest like a serpent, stealing the breath I once drew effortlessly. Then came the devastating call that shattered everything. My mother's voice quavered through the phone late one night, breaking between sobs as she revealed my father's collapse at the Salem farm. A fatal heart attack claimed him before medical help could arrive. Anguish overwhelmed me like a towering wave, but underneath lurked something more sinister, a terrifying possibility that his death might expose truths I wasn't prepared to confront. I journeyed south through the misty daybreak, the 50-mile stretch to Salem feeling infinite in its silence. Abigail remained motionless beside me, fidgeting hands in her lap, gaze locked on the endless road. Since leaving Lake Oswego, she maintained an unnatural, deliberate silence. The funeral service unfolded beneath a somber, slate-colored sky, with mourners gathered in the weathered barn where Dad had spent countless hours repairing tractor parts. I stood rigid in my funeral attire, mechanically accepting condolences with handshakes and nods, my mind churning with fragmented thoughts. Abigail navigated the crowd with a practiced elegance, tears marking her cheeks as she embraced my mother and offered gentle words to Sadie. Her grief appeared genuine, yet I detected fleeting moments in her expression, brief shadows that hinted at something deeper, perhaps relief or maybe guilt. Tucker kept to himself near the rear, his powerful frame hunched, a telltale flask visible in his jacket. Sadie remained close to Abigail, their heads drawn together in hushed conversation I couldn't decipher. The atmosphere crackled with unspoken tension, as if everyone harbored a secret I had yet to discover. As dusk approached and the final guest departed, I found myself wandering alone through the farmhouse. Despite my exhaustion, rest eluded me. Settling into Dad's familiar armchair, the aged leather groaning beneath me, I let my eyes roam the room I knew so well. His pipe remained untouched on the mantel, still carrying traces of tobacco scent. That's when my mother appeared, her complexion ashen and weary, her movements uncertain. She lowered herself onto the well-worn sofa across from me, gripping a wrinkled tissue. The silence grew heavy until she finally broke it, her voice barely audible. She revealed that Dad had carried a secret about Abigail, one that would devastate me. My heart pounded violently as she continued, each revelation striking like a physical blow. She disclosed that Abigail and Dad had been lovers years before I met her at that Portland conference. Though they'd separated when he chose to stay with Mom, they'd rekindled their relationship after my wedding. Mom's gaze fell to the floor as she revealed the family's collective silence, their shared decision to protect me from the truth. I sat paralyzed, her words reverberating through my mind, the magnitude of betrayal consuming everything around me. With trembling legs, I made my way upstairs to Dad's study, desperate to find evidence that would either confirm or deny this horrific revelation. Methodically searching through his desk drawers yielded nothing but mundane paperwork and old photographs until I discovered his outdated flip phone buried under a pile of documents. True to his trusting nature, it powered on without password protection. My heart nearly stopped when I discovered a group chat labeled Carver Clan. Years of messages unfolded before my eyes, each text another dagger to my heart. Abigail coordinating secret meetings with Dad at the barn, Tucker discussing ways to maintain their deception, Sadie ensuring I remained preoccupied with work, and Mom orchestrating weekend getaways to keep me distracted. The devastating final message from Dad, sent just months ago, confirmed that Juniper and Theo weren't my biological children, a secret they'd all protected with unwavering dedication. Darkness pressed against the window panes as I sat motionless, the phone's cold metal biting into my palm. The creaking of floorboards announced Abigail's arrival, her face etched with concern as she stood in the doorway. She whispered my name imploringly, but I couldn't bear to meet her gaze. Pocketing the phone, I pushed past her, driven by an overwhelming urge to flee this house of deception before its weight crushed my spirit entirely. The reality of my mother's confession crashed over me like a tidal wave, obliterating every cherished memory. My father, whom I'd placed on a pedestal, had maintained a clandestine relationship with my wife, nurturing their bond in the shadows of my trust. My mother's quiet complicity in their affair carved an even deeper wound. The knowledge that Tucker and Sadie had participated in this charade, their shared laughter at family gatherings now tainted with cruel irony, ignited a fury within me. But nothing compared to the agony of realizing that Juniper and Theo, the anchors of my existence, were born from an elaborate web of lies. The foundation of trust I'd built my life upon crumbled into nothingness, leaving me adrift in a sea of confusion and betrayal. Abigail transformed before me, her funeral tears now revealed as another performance in her decade-long deception. Her grieving daughter-in-law act masked a darker truth, a love affair with my father that had flourished under my own roof. Marlene's maternal warmth proved equally false, her choice to protect the family secret over her son's happiness a bitter revelation. Tucker and Sadie emerged as willing accomplices, their seemingly innocent closeness with Abigail now exposed as calculated misdirection. Their collective betrayal cut deep, a symphony of deceit that had played while I remained blissfully unaware. After my father's funeral, I drove back to Lake Oswego, my chest a hollow cavern and my mind crackling with unrelenting thoughts. The journey from Salem passed in a hazy blur, with Abigail's presence beside me weighing like an anchor I couldn't dislodge. Her attempts at conversation died against my resolute silence, forcing her to retreat into her own thoughts as rain traced patterns on the window glass. At home, I moved through each day like a specter, performing the expected roles of grieving son and devoted husband. Inside, though, a fire of suspicion burned steadily, fed by the devastating revelations I discovered in that fateful group chat. I needed something more substantial than words, tangible evidence to ground the turmoil, threatening to consume me. One night, after Abigail departed on another of her vague excursions, I slipped into Juniper's bedroom. She lay sprawled across her bed, dark hair scattered on her pillow, soft snores escaping her lips. My hand trembled as I brushed a strand from her face, then carefully collected several hairs from her brush on the dresser. In Theo's room, I found him curled beneath his blanket, clutching the teddy bear I'd given him what felt like a lifetime ago. With calculated movements and shallow breaths, I gathered strands from his comb. Under the cover of darkness, I drove to Portland, sealing the samples in plastic bags before mailing them to a discreet laboratory in Seattle, over 170 miles away. This had to remain my secret for now. The following days crept by torturously as I scrutinized Abigail's every movement. She maintained her routine, humming while cooking, kissing the children goodnight, sharing breakfast smiles, while I sat silently, harboring my explosive doubts. The lab's email arrived one dreary morning, lurking in my inbox like a loaded weapon. Locking myself in my office, I opened the file with trembling hands. The results struck me with devastating force. Through cross-referencing with Tucker's medical records I'd accessed, Juniper's DNA confirmed him as her biological father, not me. Theo's results revealed an unknown father, with no genetic connection to my bloodline. My legs gave way as I clutched my desk, the room spinning as my world shattered. Driven by a need for visual confirmation of this betrayal, I purchased small surveillance cameras online, concealing them throughout the house, behind bookshelves, beneath kitchen counters, and shadowed corners. 2 nights later, the footage revealed the final truth. Abigail sneaked out after midnight, her car disappearing down the driveway. She met Tucker at a shabby motel in Gresham, 30 miles east, their embrace captured in grainy detail, her laughter piercing through the screen. My stomach roiled as they vanished into a room, the closing door sealing away my last remnant of hope. Escape consumed my thoughts entirely. Through encrypted channels, I reached out to a contact from my tech industry days, a discreet broker who helped me establish an anonymous account in Boise, Idaho, nearly 450 miles from my current life. Each night, I methodically transferred funds from Carver Tech, concealing the movements with intricate dummy transactions, leveraging years of coding expertise to cover my tracks. Finally, the night of departure arrived, dark and eerily quiet. I stood watching Juniper and Theo sleep, drinking in their peaceful faces one last time as conflicting emotions of love and betrayal waged war within me. In our room, Abigail slumbered peacefully, oblivious to what was coming. My parting message sat on her nightstand, 4 words in stark black ink. I know everything, goodbye. With a packed duffel bag, I slipped silently to my waiting car and drove off into the darkness, watching the house shrink in my mirror like a mausoleum of my former self. The DNA test results seared through my mind, their implications devastating me anew. My love for Juniper and Theo collided violently with the harsh reality of their parentage. Years of cherished bonds, now poisoned by deception. Raw anger surged as I thought of Abigail and Tucker's motel rendezvous, their affair burning like acid in my memories, exposing a betrayal I'd been too trusting to notice. Leaving the children behind created a physical ache, my yearning for them battling against my determination to escape. Yet beneath it all flickered a faint liberation as I shed the weight of my fraudulent life, stepping into darkness with only my fury and shattered heart for company. My children slept on, unwitting players in this tragedy, their innocent faces etched in my memory as I departed. Abigail and Tucker stood exposed, their clandestine meetings the final proof that destroyed my trust, forever altering their roles as wife and brother. I fled Lake Oswego beneath a moonless sky, pushing my car eastward through Oregon's shadowed wilderness. After hours of driving, I found my sanctuary, a secluded cabin deep within the Cascade Mountains, 100 miles from Portland's reach. Ancient pines concealed the weathered structure, their shadows offering refuge from my former world. Inside the dusty shelter, I locked myself away from everything familiar. That night, I shed Mason Carver like an old coat, emerging as Gideon Holt, a name crafted from nothing, sharp-edged and untraceable. Time flowed like a river as I forged my new identity. Dawn brought crystalline frost patterns on window panes, and I'd pound the mountain trails until my chest heaved, fallen pine needles cushioning each desperate stride. I spent afternoons by the rushing creek, lifting rough-hewn stones until my muscles screamed, each punishing session stripping away traces of the man I'd once been. As darkness fell, I focused on a crucial connection, reaching out to Jasper Klein, my former tech confidant from Carver Tech. Speaking in hushed tones from a disposable phone, I shared the ruins of my existence. After absorbing my story in silence, Jasper agreed to craft my new persona documentation so flawless it would withstand any scrutiny. Thus emerged Gideon Holt, a retired financial advisor with an expertly constructed history spanning decades. My path led southeast to Boise, Idaho, 400 miles distant, where I connected with Carl Voss, a battle-scarred former detective. We met in a shadowy diner, his coin dancing across scarred knuckles as he evaluated my situation. Between sips of acrid coffee, I exchanged cash for his expertise in surveillance and evasion, skills earned tracking phantoms across jurisdictions. Carl showed me the art of invisible pursuit, taught me to map escape routes instantaneously, to dissolve into crowds at will. One evening, he presented me with a weighted lockbox. Inside gleamed a pistol, its cold metal promising protection against uncertainties ahead. When I finally descended from the mountains, I was transformed, leaner, more calculating, my hair dyed midnight black, facial hair disguising familiar features. San Francisco beckoned 600 miles south, its perpetual fog providing perfect cover for my metamorphosis. Leveraging Jasper's expertise, I channel my Boise resources into establishing Holt Analytics, a financial consultancy rising phoenix-like from my past life's ashes. I secured a minimalist office with bay views, assembled a bare-bones team through anonymous postings, and immersed myself in analysis. Clients gradually appeared, attracted by my talent for identifying market vulnerabilities, never suspecting the phantom behind their profits. Where Mason Carver had crumbled, Gideon Holt now stood resolute, a stranger's hardened gaze reflecting back from every mirror. Marcus Reed became my anchor during those chaotic early days, his unwavering voice offering stability through encrypted channels. He orchestrated the delivery of falsified credentials via a secure drop point in Seattle, rendezvoused with me briefly in Spokane to transfer account information, his unwavering support a beacon in my fractured existence. James Cooper molded me into a hardened survivor, his stern guidance embedding vigilance and strategy into my core, his secured package a wordless agreement for the vengeance to come. Reconstructing my identity felt like emerging from the depths of darkness, each forward motion a blend of determination and anguish. Fury churned beneath my fabricated persona, powering every calculated move, every transaction, every midnight strategy documented in worn pages. The loss of Thomas lingered, a persistent reminder of the innocent faith I'd discarded. But Phoenix emerged more resilient, calculated, an individual tempered by deception's heat, prepared to reverse the roles on his betrayers. From my strategic position in Los Angeles, I observed the gradual dissolution of the Mitchell family unfold like a carefully orchestrated symphony. Summit Ventures flourished discreetly, its modern offices buzzing with transactions, while my true objectives materialized in darkness. I leveraged former industry connections, assembling fragments of intelligence from Washington through secure channels Marcus directed my way. Eleanor maintained a brittle public facade, embodying the forsaken spouse in River Heights, her digital presence saturated with transparent appeals for compassion. Speculation circulated through local social circles, tales of her midnight excursions and suspicious behavior undermining her meticulously maintained reputation. Mitchell Tech disintegrated without my strategic oversight, its downfall rapid and decisive after my financial maneuvers. Partners abandoned ship as systems failed, and leadership liquidated the remnants at minimal value, casting Eleanor and her kin adrift. Derek descended rapidly, his transport contracts evaporating as tales of his alcoholism spread through industry channels. I monitored him through surveillance footage Marcus accessed, his unfocused gaze and stumbling movements marking the decline of my once confident former ally. Eventually, he wrecked his vehicle on Route 101, a dangerous incident resulting in penalties beyond his means. Sadie's world crumbled alongside her marriage to Matt, their relationship buckling under mounting financial pressures and unvoiced remorse. Her Salem grocery store teetered on the brink of collapse, with overdue payments accumulating and divorce documents materializing shortly after. Marlene withdrew to her farm, where her previously vibrant kitchen fell silent, her days consumed by staring at fields she lacked the strength to maintain. Government assistance kept her nourished, but her self-worth diminished with each passing month. Juniper responded with rebellion, her adolescent years characterized by moody resistance, ditching school to wander Portland's shadowy alleys with questionable companions. Theo disappeared into digital realms, his small figure curved over an illuminated screen, eyes dulled from countless hours lost in virtual landscapes. Abigail made one final desperate attempt, investing her remaining funds in a Salem bakery, a confined space squeezed between a laundromat and pawnbroker. She shared photos of freshly baked scones on social media, forcing smiles, but the financial records revealed the truth. Through a confidential source, I accessed documents showing an account drowning in debt, her losses mounting as customers dwindled. During one tempestuous evening, I infiltrated her email, discovering a desperate message to Tucker pleading for financial assistance, her words saturated with fear as foreclosure threatened. The family I had once supported now stood on the precipice of destruction, their lives reduced to scattered remnants of their own making. Observing their downfall produced a cold sense of fulfillment within me, a dark compensation for the years they had stolen. Victory intertwined with bitterness. Recognizing their anguish reflected my own, yet failed to fill the emptiness they had created. Juniper's defiance and Theo's isolation touched a nerve, reminiscent of my former role as their father. But fury overwhelmed these feelings, an unstoppable force driving me onward. Their torment seemed justified, a long-awaited retribution, though an underlying disquiet persisted, a lingering shadow I couldn't dismiss. Holt Analytics evolved into a discrete industry leader in San Francisco, its modern headquarters serving as my strategic command center. The Carver family's spiral into disarray, monitored from a distance, only strengthened my determination. Their fates hung precariously, and I controlled their destiny. My initial strike targeted Abigail's Salem bakery, her final lifeline. Through an intricately concealed shell corporation, I acquired the property housing her establishment. A terse message from an anonymous property owner followed, instantly tripling the rental cost. I monitored her response through her compromised laptop camera, watching her composure shatter as she read the notice, fingers frantically gripping her hair in desperation. She composed an urgent appeal to her bank, her screen illuminating the darkened kitchen, but I knew financial salvation would remain elusive. Tucker's downfall came next, his vulnerabilities ripe for exploitation. Through meticulous investigation, I uncovered his trucking records, revealing a pattern of falsified mileage reports and misappropriated funds. I channeled this information to a state auditor through anonymous channels, timing the revelation to coincide with his exit from a Portland drinking establishment. The official summons arrived shortly after, detailing accusations of fraud. Through a strategically placed roadside surveillance camera near his residence, I witnessed him tear open the envelope, his trembling hands betraying his panic as he collapsed onto his steps, rain drenching his clothing. A calculated call to his superior, leveraging a connection from Holt Analytics, ensured his professional license faced imminent suspension. Juniper's presence at the University of Oregon in Eugene, a mere 60 miles south of Salem, presented an irresistible opportunity. Adopting the persona of Gideon Holt, a philanthropic alumnus, I proposed a scholarship initiative to the dean through encrypted communication. My stipulation was straightforward: personal selection of recipients. When Juniper's application arrived, her essay resonated with unresolved anger toward her absent father. Our meeting at a campus cafe, where I appeared with darkened hair and altered voice, proved enlightening. She sat opposite me, her penetrating gaze studying my features as I deliberately echoed Mason's distinctive phrases, once used to calm her childhood outbursts. Recognition flickered across her expression, but I departed before certainty could take hold, leaving doubt to germinate in her unsettled thoughts. My strategy advanced with clinical precision. I enlisted Vince, a lean private investigator from Salem, to monitor Abigail's nocturnal activities. His surveillance led to a dingy diner along Highway 22, where he documented her clandestine meeting with a suspicious figure and concealing a tire exchanging an envelope. The photographs reached me through an abandoned mailbox on a remote route. The monetary transaction suggested desperate circumstances, a mystery warranting further investigation. Each calculated move intensified their pressure, an invisible vice gradually constricting. Watching Abigail's diminishing world brought waves of satisfaction, her bakery's impending doom orchestrated by my hand. Tucker's professional destruction satisfied a darker impulse, his fall mirroring his betrayal of trust. Juniper's growing uncertainty evoked momentary sympathy, quickly suppressed, her quest for answers becoming another tool in my arsenal. The power to manipulate events provided cold comfort against past turmoil, yet an underlying restlessness persisted, anticipating their eventual confrontation with my unveiled identity. This intricate game of manipulation enthralled me, a strategic board where I controlled all movements, each setback bringing them closer to our inevitable reckoning. My methodical campaign against the Carvers intensified from within San Francisco shadows, each calculated step drawing the carefully laid trap tighter. The moment arrived to infiltrate their world, not as a phantom, but as Gideon Holt, a persona they'd never suspect. Abigail's financial crisis provided the perfect opening. Her online plea for accounting assistance, posted as her bakery verged on bankruptcy, caught my attention. Through a disposable email account, I reached out as an executive from Holt Analytics seeking freelance support. She entered my office that misty morning, wearing a worn coat, exhaustion evident in her hollow eyes. I greeted her in bespoke attire, my features subtly altered with makeup techniques learned from Carl, maintaining composure as I presented the contract. She signed eagerly, visible relief flooding her expression, unaware of the hunter seated before her. Intelligence from Vince's surveillance later revealed plans for a memorial service in Salem, commemorating a decade since Mason Carver's disappearance. The Carvers organized the gathering at their farm, a solemn event designed to both honor their loss and garner neighborhood sympathy. I embarked on the 600-mile journey north, my anticipation mounting as I approached my former home. Evening shadows stretched across the farmland upon my arrival, with dim lights illuminating the barn where a small crowd gathered. I entered silently, my dark overcoat merging with the shadows, observing. Keenly through tinted lenses, Abigail stood beside a memorial photo display, hands nervously clasped, while Juniper lingered nearby, her face etched with suspicion. Tucker wavered unsteadily near refreshments, alcohol heavy on his breath, as Sadie attended to a fragile Marlene seated in a folding chair. I approached Abigail with measured steps, introducing myself as Gideon Holt, expressing sympathy as her new client. Her initial surprise transformed into appreciation as we shook hands, her palm damp against mine. I maintained casual conversation, strategically referencing Mason's characteristics, mentioning his nocturnal coding sessions she'd once mocked. Her smile wavered momentarily, unease flickering across her features before she dismissed it. Juniper inched closer, scrutinizing me intently, while clutching a decade-old photograph of Mason. I shifted focus to her academic pursuits, commending her determination at Eugene, weaving in phrases from long-ago bedtime stories. She stiffened perceptibly, her breath halting as recognition stirred behind her penetrating gaze. The atmosphere grew increasingly tense as darkness descended, my presence like a thorn in their collective consciousness. Tucker managed a slurred hello, his unfocused gaze passing over me without recognition, while Sadie's eyes lingered longer, her forehead wrinkled in contemplation as if assembling fragments of memory. Seeking respite, I retreated to the porch, lighting a cigarette I had no intention of smoking, a calculated prop suggested by Carl for authenticity. Through the window's glass, I witnessed Juniper pulling Abigail aside, her voice hushed but urgent, gesturing toward me with quivering fingers. I extinguished the cigarette beneath my shoe and retreated to my vehicle, observing as the first fissures in their carefully maintained facades began to spread under my looming presence. My infiltration of their circle ignited an electric thrill, a hunter's satisfaction as I manipulated their oblivion. Abigail's misplaced faith in me carried a bitter irony, her handshake forming a connection I would deliberately destroy. Juniper's wariness sparked an odd sense of pride, her keen intellect detecting traces of the truth I concealed, though it also pained me, echoing the familial bond I'd sacrificed. Tucker's deterioration and Sadie's discomfort fueled my determination, their unraveling lives becoming the perfect canvas for my vengeance. I relished the discord I'd planted, a dark satisfaction tempered by the persistent ache of an irretrievable past. Following the Salem gathering, I intensified my grip on the Carvers from San Francisco, exploiting the unease from my appearance to orchestrate their downfall. Abigail's position at Holt Analytics became my initial target. I summoned her to my office one rain-soaked afternoon, her footsteps resonating through the empty corridor. She settled across from me, fingers fidgeting as I presented a folder containing evidence of inflated invoices she'd submitted during her Carver Tech tenure. Maintaining composure, I outlined the proof, revealing bank statements documenting her petty theft from my company's early period. Her complexion paled, protests faltering as I demanded her signature, transferring the bakery's deed to my shell corporation. She signed with trembling fingers, resignation evident in her defeated posture, her security vanishing in a single moment. Juniper deserved to know the truth, a revelation I could no longer withhold. Under cover of night, I transmitted an encrypted file from an untraceable account to her university email. In her dimly lit dorm room, her screen illuminated her face as she uncovered damning evidence. Photographs of Abigail and Wesley's intimate encounter in a weathered barn loft, dated weeks after my wedding ceremony. Next came the audio recordings, Marlene's voice distorted but clear through Vince's concealed microphone, confessing to laundering sheets to conceal their indiscretions. The final blow: DNA analysis reports confirming Tucker as Juniper's father, while exposing Theo's true paternity to a nameless man. Through her compromised webcam, courtesy of my covert software installation, I witnessed her breakdown, her body racked with sobs as reality shattered her world. Tucker's undoing required surgical precision, his vulnerability ripe for exploitation. I penetrated his email infrastructure, fabricating correspondence that suggested union fund embezzlement. An anonymous whistleblower alert triggered an immediate investigation, with auditors descending upon his Salem trailer, impounding his truck as he watched helplessly. Through a nearby surveillance feed, I observe his violent outburst, his rage echoing silently through the camera. My orchestrated tip to local law enforcement about his bar altercations, courtesy of a Holt connection, buried him deeper in insurmountable fines. The family's fabric unraveled beneath my invisible manipulation. Vince documented Sadie's desperate visit to a pawnbroker, surrendering her wedding band for quick cash, shame evident in her hollow expression. Marlene's landline buzzed relentlessly with collection calls, her voice breaking as she pleaded for extensions from my concealed acquisition company. Abigail sought Tucker's help in a Salem diner, their clandestine meeting captured by Vince's surveillance, as she passed him money from an enigmatic source. My investigation traced the funds to an underground lender, revealing her desperate attempt to avoid displacement. Their relationships crumbled spectacularly. Juniper disappeared from Eugene without warning, leaving only a brief note about needing distance. Tucker's alcohol-fueled tirade against Abigail, intercepted through my surveillance, echoed with blame and vitriol. Sadie withdrew into herself, her store's inventory dwindling as she avoided Marlene, guilt etched deeply in her features. From my command center, surrounded by screens documenting their destruction, I orchestrated their downfall like a conductor of chaos, each calculated move bringing me closer to the grand finale. Rage coursed through me like molten steel as I systematically dismantled their lives. My vengeance a purifying flame that incinerated their carefully constructed deceptions. Abigail's eventual capitulation brought a dark satisfaction, her signed confession a testament to my victory. Juniper's weeping struck a chord of recognition, mirroring my own past anguish, but I steeled myself against sympathy, knowing her pain was collateral damage. Tucker's explosive anger paralleled my own festering wounds, a similarity I ruthlessly crushed, his downfall a salve for my old injuries. Triumph surged through me, intoxicating and fierce, as their carefully constructed facade crumbled, yet beneath lay a persistent emptiness, reminding me that revenge couldn't restore what was stolen. Marlene's upcoming 70th celebration presented the perfect platform for my endgame, a family gathering I'd transform into their reckoning. The journey from San Francisco to Salem stretched 600 miles, the road's steady thrum accompanying my unwavering resolve. The farmhouse cast a soft glow in the twilight, voices drifting from the assembled guests as I parked discreetly. I stripped away Gideon Holt's sophisticated exterior, removing the concealing makeup, revealing my natural brown hair and weathered scars. Donning a simple jacket reminiscent of Mason Carver style, I enter the gathering, my father's timepiece marking each moment of their impending doom. Within, Abigail nervously decorated a cake, her anxious glances betraying inner turmoil. Tucker brooded in a shadowy corner, drowning sorrows in beer, his features haunted by financial ruin. Sadie fussed with decorations, her movements betraying anxiety, while Marlene sat wheelchair-bound, wrapped in a delicate shawl. Juniper hovered near the entrance, backpack ready for escape, her eyes constantly scanning. I navigated through the crowd, acknowledging strangers, until Abigail's gaze found mine. Her serving tray crashed, frosting spattering across floorboards, her shocked recognition piercing the ambient noise. I commanded silence with a raised hand, my voice carrying cold authority as I revealed myself as Mason Carver, risen from their orchestrated demise. A synchronized wave of notifications announced Vince's meticulously gathered evidence flooding every guest device, damning photos, incriminating recordings, and revealing financial records exposing their years of treachery. Marlene gasped sharply, clutching her chest while examining a proffered tablet playing Wesley's confession. Tucker charged forward, fist cocked, but my trained reflexes prevailed, sending him stumbling into the wall. Sadie collapsed, tears streaming, while Abigail retreated, her desperate words lost in the erupting pandemonium. Juniper advanced, her voice trembling with raw emotion as she demanded explanations, her gaze boring into mine. I extended a USB drive, my final offering, containing fresh evidence linking Abigail to the loan shark's web, a debt spiraling beyond her means. She gripped it tightly, her determined nod signaling an irrevocable decision amidst the chaos. I addressed the room, methodically outlining their fates. Abigail's cherished bakery lost, Tucker facing imminent arrest, Marlene's farm now mine through calculated liens, her future care subject to my discretion. The crowd parted silently as I departed, Juniper following with purposeful steps, leaving the others to face their inevitable downfall. Later that evening, media vans descended upon the farm like vultures, my strategically leaked files sparking a media frenzy, the Carvers' disgrace broadcast across Oregon's news networks. From my motel room, I observed the unfolding spectacle, Juniper seated quietly beside me, her future now a clean canvas awaiting my guidance. Abigail retreated into solitude, her reputation shattered, her mounting debts consuming her remaining dignity. Tucker's arrest followed swiftly, his union fraud charges proving inescapable, his imprisonment fitting. Marlene entered my exclusive Portland care facility, her days passing in isolated reflection, her conscience eroding beneath guilt's weight. Sadie vanished from Salem, her business closed, her existence reduced to whispered regrets. Juniper chose allegiance to me, her resilience echoing my own, while Theo disappeared into his digital refuge, unreachable amid the destruction. Truth liberates, yet wounds deeply, destroying cherished connections, a lesson eternally etched in my heart. Trust gleams brilliantly, but, when misplaced, drags you into unfathomable depths, a price I've fully settled. Revenge offers sweetness, but leaves emptiness, a hollow victory healing no wounds. Our story concludes here. Whether you found this ending satisfying or unsettling, share your thoughts below. If this narrative captivated you, like and subscribe for future stories. Thank you for joining us. Until next time.